Beneath these islands, the Earth's crust is being reshaped by the same forces that built them. Around them, nothing but ocean for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. No highways lead here. No bridges connect them to anywhere else. This is one of the most isolated places left on the planet. And yet, more than 300,000 people call it home. The ground shakes and they rebuild. Volcanoes erupt and they smile. But in traditional communities, wealth has never been measured only in cash. A perfectly curved boar's tusk can carry enormous cultural value. And to prove they're ready for manhood, young men climb 20-meter wooden towers and dive headfirst toward the earth with nothing but a vine tied to their ankles. By every measure of modern survival, this place should not work. And yet, the Happy Planet Index has ranked Vanuatu first in the world for sustainable well-being. This is Vanuatu, and what life actually looks like here will surprise you. Vanuatu sits directly on the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of the most volcanically and seismically active regions on Earth. Every island here was born from that violence. Volcanic peaks pushed up from the ocean floor over millions of years of eruptions and collisions. That origin story shows on the surface. On the island of Tanna, gray volcanic ash stretches for kilometers around the base of Mount Yaser, one of the most accessible active volcanoes on Earth. Fly north, and the landscape changes completely. The island of Vanuatu is all deep blue bays and emerald lagoons, wrapped around the quiet capital of Port Vila. Keep going, and Espiritu Santo, the largest island in the country, reveals rainforests, limestone cave systems, and white sand beaches lined with water, so clear it looks unreal. Cross a single channel in Vanuatu, and you can go from black volcanic slopes to untouched jungle to hidden lagoons, landscapes that anywhere else will be separate countries. Before we go further, tell us in the comments what time it is where you're watching from and which country you're joining us from today. The same tropical climate that keeps these islands lush and green year-round also makes them a target. Powerful cyclones form here with brutal regularity, feeding off the same warmth and rainfall that make the land so fertile. Vanuatu exists in that contradiction constantly, a place that is extraordinarily fertile and extraordinarily beautiful, shaped by forces that could destroy it without warning. Vanuatu has several active volcanoes, making it one of the most volcanically active countries on Earth. The most famous is Mount Yaser, on Tanna. It's persistently active, with explosions and bursts of volcanic activity occurring regularly. Molten lava launched into the sky, explosions loud enough to hear for kilometers. It is famous for being one of the world's most accessible active volcanoes, allowing visitors to witness volcanic explosions from remarkably close range. But Yaser isn't alone. On Ambrim, two spectacular lava lakes once glowed red through the night, until a massive eruption in 2018 drained both almost overnight. Ambrim still erupts year after year. Low PV rises from the ocean as a single, perfect volcanic cone. Ambi and Gawa vent gas day and night, never fully quiet. These volcanoes are not dormant memories. They're alive, ticking, and they have never gone back to sleep. If the volcanoes are Vanuatu's skeleton, then its untouched nature is what makes it feel like a lost world. Deep in the rainforests of Espiritu Santo are the blue holes, freshwater pools so clear you can see every rock and tree root resting on the bottom, colored an impossible turquoise by underground springs filtering through limestone. Nearby is Champagne Beach, powdery white sand, glass-clear water, and a strange natural effect where bubbles rise continuously from the seafloor, as if the ocean itself is celebrating. Offshore, coral reefs, sea turtles, dolphins, and migrating whales, one of the richest marine ecosystems left in the Pacific. Onshore, rare endemic birds, giant fruit bats, and forests that still preserve remarkably intact ecosystems and endemic wildlife. Vanuatu has relatively few large land predators, which gives many of its forests a remarkably different character from wildernesses elsewhere in the world. But none of this, the volcanoes, the beaches, the reefs, explains the real mystery of Vanuatu. That answer is found in the villages. Here, time isn't measured by a clock. It's measured by sunlight and season. Villages are still the center of everything. Family and work aren't separate categories, they're the same thing. At sunrise, the sound isn't traffic. It's coconut leaf brooms sweeping dirt paths, smoke curling off cooking fires, and a low hum of families talking under thatched roofs. In many traditional villages, homes sit close together with far less emphasis on the private boundaries familiar in Western cities. That openness has shaped something modern society lost a long time ago. In many traditional communities, raising children is a shared responsibility, with relatives and neighbors playing a much larger role than in many modern urban societies. Nowhere is the paradox of this life more visible than in villages like Yakel and Sulphur Bay, built in the direct shadow of Mount Yeser. Explosions shake the ground throughout the day. Clouds of gray ash sometimes blot out the sun, and life continues exactly as it always has. Women work the gardens. Men repair the roofs. Children play in the shadow of a mountain that could kill them. The same volcanic material can also enrich the soil, helping support the gardens that feed these communities. Nature here is both executioner and provider, and the people have learned to live inside that contradiction instead of fighting it. When night falls, there's no artificial light to compete with the sky, just stars by the millions. This is when the Nakamal, the communal meeting house, comes alive. Men gather to share bowls of kava, pounded from the root of a traditional plant, its peppery numbness melting away the weight of the day. This is where the happiest country on earth label actually makes sense. Not because life here is easy, but because happiness was never tied to income in the first place. It's tied to community and to the quiet defiance of living peacefully next to a volcano that could erupt at any moment. Behind almost every home in Vanuatu isn't a backyard. It's a garden that keeps the family alive. Across Tana, Malacula, and Espiritu Santo, plots just minutes from the village grow taro, yams, cassava, sweet potato, bananas, and coconut. Every morning, people head out with machetes and generations of inherited knowledge. When to plant, how to rotate crops, how to read the soil. The land only provides half the food. The ocean provides the rest. At first light, dugout canoes push off the shore, heading for lagoons and reefs. Nets, fishing lines, hand diving for octopus. By late morning, the catch comes back and is often shared among extended families and the wider community. Between the garden, the canoe, and the community around them, many villages in Vanuatu have built something modern economies keep chasing and never quite reach: abundance without needing much cash at all. Still, money is creeping in. At Port Vila Market, people sell root crops, fish, and handicrafts to cover school fees, fuel, and medicine. Vanuatu exports copra, dried coconut flesh, along with cocoa, coffee, and kava, a crop tied as deeply to the economy as it is to the culture. Tourism is opening new doors too. Volcano tours on Tana, diving off Espiritu Santo, village visits that let locals earn income as guides instead of depending on resorts that take the profit elsewhere. There's one form of wealth here that no bank has ever held. In many northern communities, tusked boars are raised for years. Not for meat, but so their lower tusks can curve into a full, unbroken circle. Those tusks are used in bride price and customary exchange, and their value can be enormous. In traditional Vanuatu, wealth can be something you can hold, inherit, exchange, and pass down. What makes Vanuatu almost impossible to replicate anywhere else isn't just the landscape. It's how intact the culture has stayed. With just over 300,000 people, this country holds more than 130 indigenous languages. one of the highest concentrations of linguistic diversity on the planet. Cross into the next village, and the words can change entirely. Bislama, an English-based Creole, is the bridge that lets all of them talk to each other. But above every language sits custom, the customary law and belief system that governs land ownership, marriage, and the relationship between the living and their ancestors. Most people in Vanuatu are Christian today, but custom hasn't been replaced. It runs alongside Christianity as the country's real cultural foundation, carried forward by village elders generation after generation. Different islands preserve their own distinct traditions, languages, and ceremonies. On Pentecost, men climb wooden towers more than 20 meters high and dive toward the earth with only 2 vines tied to their ankles, a ritual tied to the yam harvest that later became the blueprint for modern bungee jumping. On Ambrym, master artists draw entire stories in the sand using a single finger, sand drawing, recognized by UNESCO as a form of intangible cultural heritage and a symbolic language in its own right. And on Tanna, the John Frum movement, a cargo cult born in the 20th century around belief in a mythical American figure, blends traditional belief with the outside world in a way found almost nowhere else on Earth. For many communities, modern life has been adopted without abandoning the traditions that connect them to their ancestors. Food here still comes from the same place it always has, the garden and the sea, only hours before it hits the fire. Root crops, fresh fish, crab, octopus, and coconut cooked with almost no seasoning, so the ingredients speak for themselves. The national dish, lap lap, starts with grated taro pressed into a smooth base, topped with fish or pork drenched in coconut milk, then wrapped tightly in banana leaves and buried in an omu, an earth oven heated with volcanic stone, to cook for hours. When the leaves finally come off, the steam alone tells you everything you need to know. But the real ingredient in Vanuatu's food isn't on the plate, it's the spirit behind it. Before dawn, the whole village gathers to grate, cook, and prepare the meal together. Meals here are deeply communal, with food prepared and shared according to traditions of hospitality and respect. Vanuatu isn't frozen in time. It's entering the modern world just on its own terms. Smartphones and internet access are reaching more islands every year, but they haven't replaced the old ways. They sit next to them. The real obstacle here isn't culture, it's geography. Dozens of islands are scattered across the South Pacific, and getting between them still depends almost entirely on boats and small aircraft, weather permitting. Once you leave Port Vila or Luganville, paved roads disappear fast, replaced by dirt tracks that have been walked for generations. Even so, the gap is closing. Mobile phones are giving people in remote communities new ways to communicate, access information, and stay connected with family without a multi-day journey. More students are leaving for Port Vila to study, then coming home to work in tourism or public service. It's not unusual to see the same young man messaging tourists on a smartphone in the morning and taking part in a custom ceremony that same evening. This is modern Vanuatu, changing every day while refusing to let go of what makes it Vanuatu. But that change is bringing pressure the old system was never built to handle. Every year, from roughly November to April, cyclone season brings torrential rain and violent wind that can flood a coastal village, tear off roofs, and wipe out food gardens in a matter of hours. And for a country that depends on farming and fishing to survive, a single cyclone can damage food supplies for months afterward. Volcanic activity adds another layer of risk. When Minero Vui erupted on Ambi in 2017 and 2018, ash buried homes, water sources, and farmland so completely that the government evacuated the entire island. Rising seas are eating away at low-lying coastlines and pushing salt water into freshwater supplies. Warming oceans are bleaching the coral reefs that feed coastal communities. And here's the part that should make you angry. Vanuatu contributes only a tiny fraction of global greenhouse gas emissions, yet it's absorbing some of the worst consequences on the planet. That's why representatives from this small island nation have stood in international courtrooms thousands of kilometers away, demanding the world answer for what's happening to them. Modernization is also quietly rewriting the culture from the inside. As younger generations lean more on Bislama, English and French for school and work, some of Vanuatu's smaller indigenous languages, along with the knowledge passed down through them, are now at real risk of disappearing. Waste is another growing problem. Traditional villages used to produce almost nothing but organic waste. Now, imported packaging and plastic are piling up faster than the country's waste infrastructure can handle. Vanuatu's answer was to move aggressively. It restricted some of the most common single-use plastics on Earth, including plastic bags, straws, and polystyrene food containers. The share of banned plastic items in the country's waste stream fell dramatically, while woven pandanus baskets became a common alternative in markets across the islands. So with more opportunity, more comfort, and an easier life waiting just a flight away, why do people stay? It isn't about missing out on opportunity. It's about what they'd be giving up. In Vanuatu, home isn't just a location. It's a direct line to ancestors, family, and values built over generations, something no city on Earth can manufacture. It's a life still built around nature, where there's time left over for the people around you and the small things that actually make a day worth living. Vanuatu will never be the richest country, the most modern, or the most powerful. But in the middle of the Pacific, it's quietly proving something the rest of the world keeps forgetting, that growth and identity don't have to cancel each other out. From the boar's tusks still exchanged as bride wealth, to the wooden towers on Pentecost every yam harvest, to the smoke still rising from the umo at every shared village meal. Custom isn't preserved in a museum here. It's alive every single day on a scattered handful of islands in the South Pacific that refuse to disappear. And this is where we go back to the beginning. An active volcano, endless ocean, complete isolation, a place that by every rule of survival shouldn't work. And somehow, the Happy Planet Index ranks it first in the world for sustainable well-being. If you know something about Vanuatu we didn't cover here, a story, an experience, a detail we missed, put in the comments. This documentary can only tell part of the story. The rest is yours to add.